What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Menazance with G and J. Of course, you only see me, J, so we'll be talking to G a little bit later. But saw that weigh-in yesterday. Uh, both guys look good between Errol Spence and Danny Garcia, of course, at 147. So I just saw some things that were, I wouldn't necessarily say obvious, but with the tail of the tape where they kind of list the stats and everything, there were some things where there was some, or stats that there were some clear advantages in. So I just wanted to kind of break that down, and I'll probably have that as a thumbnail. So let's get into it. So starting with the record of Errol Spence, we're looking at 26-0 with 21 KOs. Now, as far as the knockout percentage, that's 80.7%. Comparably, well, not necessarily, but Danny Garcia, he's 36-2-0. So of course that's 12 more fights experience. But as far as the KOs, he has 21 knockouts out of those 36 wins. So that's 55% knockout ratio. We see a clear advantage there. So Errol Spence is 5'9". Danny's 5'8". Not necessarily a huge advantage, but enough in boxing when the stakes are so close anyway. Now, next, going to the weight. They're very, very close on this one. Errol weighed in at 146.5. Danny weighed in at 146.75, or 3/4 pound. Pretty much the same. It just depends on how they're going to rehydrate. Now, at the weigh-in, as far as physique looked, I definitely think that Errol Spence looks more comfortable as small as he was. His body looked at a better composition. Like his nipples weren't puffy, you know what I mean? He just looked very chiseled, and his skin was tight rather than manipulated, if that makes any sense. But next stat, let's go to reach. So Errol Spence is kind of like Floyd in this regard, having an abnormally long reach for a guy of his height. So Errol has 72-inch reach, which of course is 6 feet tall. Danny has 68.5. Now, this could be a problem since timing is his biggest attribute, but we'll see. Now, as far as age goes, Errol has a 2-year age advantage, being 30 years old, while Danny being 32. Now, with them both being in their prime, some would say that Danny would kind of have the advantage with him having not only probably a little bit more time as a pro, but more championship level fights. I believe that Danny Garcia has 10 title fights and Errol only has 5, so having twice as much experience. And then going back to the 12 fight advantage, I'm looking at the rounds in his total career, and Danny Garcia has 138 more rounds in the ring as a pro than Errol Spence. So it's significant, but I mean, he's so, I hate to say straight up and down because it sounds disrespectful, but there's not a lot of bells and whistles with Danny's game. And if he was going to show us something more spectacular than what he's already done, he probably would have showed it to us by now, especially with his training regimen. So we'll see if he pulls something out the hat, man. I doubt it, but we shall see. Now, personally, and I'm a little biased in this regard, as far as stances go, me being left-handed, I always kind of lean towards the southpaw fighter. One, because most people have difficulty fighting them, or there's a stigma about it. But most southpaw fighters have either been familiar with the conventional stance or started out a conventional fighter turned southpaw. So the options, the angles are more vast. So I usually give the advantage to the southpaw fighter. Now, as far as the disadvantages, let's look at that just for a second, and we're gonna get up out of here. So for Errol, I would say, of course, the disadvantage would be the inactivity after the car accident. Now, he says he's doing fine. Of course, the reports say that he's only suffered scrapes and scratches and bruises in his face and some of his body. No broken bones, nothing missing. He's fully intact. So now, as far as the soreness, we don't know. He could have some Kawhi knee type stuff going on where don't nobody know but him. Additionally, with injuries to athletes, it's always an issue of pushing your body at the same rate and having the confidence to do so. So his mental health is going to be in question when it comes to this high performance situation. So, but with somebody so straightforward and blue collarish nature, I think he'll be fine. But he's gonna have to prove that to the world. So we'll see about that. Let's see. Yeah, just the experience. Just that and the experience would be his only disadvantages. Now, as far as Danny, he's honestly looking at versatility. I don't think that he's versatile enough to keep Errol off of him because it looks like he has about two game plans that he'll use in and out. Errol looks like he has about three or four, depending on what you do. But he's gonna kind of press and make you uncomfortable in any of those four plans. Outside of that, I find that Danny he still carries his crack into the later, like in his hand in the later rounds, but his activity level drops significantly, and I think that that's when Errol presses the most. So that's going to be a huge issue. Now, lastly, the training regimen. And a lot of the LDBC or Lions Den boxing community, shout out to them, has been making note of the videos of them training for the press conferences. With Danny being, and I don't want to make it seem bad, but Angel hovering over him and having to instruct him on every little thing to do to the casual that wouldn't really mean anything, but when you look at Arrow and how disciplined he is on his own, and Derek James, his trainer, actually having to tell him to stop training or telling him to recover, you know what I mean? It's just two different mentalities, and I just think that Arrow is the type of guy that's going to get it done no matter what the circumstances. So we'll see. Definitely going to be a great fight, but my pick officially is Errol Spence Jr. I am leaning towards TKO or KO 7th through 9th. Yeah, 7th through 9th. I'm gonna leave it wide like that. You know what I mean? So there you have it. We'll give you guys a review, maybe even a little footage during the fight. So we'll talk to you guys later. We'll talk to you on IG. So like, comment, subscribe, shoot, even talk a little bit of shit in the comments, man. We'll talk to you soon.